from being a control gatekeeper to an accelerator of governance. And there are two ways in which we need to comprehend this watershed, but the regulatory aspects are still very ambiguous. GCCs in the last 10 years have truly evolved from being a cost arbitrage unit to a true strategic engine of the parent company. And the legal function also is a reflection of the strategic shifts in the organization. So accordingly, it has to respond and move from being a control gatekeeper to an accelerator of governance. What I mean to say is it is no longer about reducing control, but it is about redesigning control. Legal teams now need to come into the picture much earlier on when thinking about a new deal or about setting up a data process or a data flow, and should be looking out for regulatory changes much ahead so that it becomes a partner of execution and structuring rather than being reactive to the questions being asked. Earlier, a classical legal team would only end up redlining contracts or provide an advice when asked. But now, with the speed of the business and with the new changes in the environment, the legal team needs to be way more proactive. How that can happen is by partnering with the business teams very early on in the process, so that you can be truly helping and partnering in the structuring of the business and getting a seat on the table and pointing out areas of friction and areas which would slow down the business early on so that you are not cleaning it up later in the day. Whether you are in a GCC or you are in another industry, AI is a buzzword. And with the recent news of Anthropic and Claude dropping their new legal plugin agent, which completely shook the AI industry, it is time that everybody, especially in the legal field, starts looking at AI very seriously. And there are two ways in which we need to comprehend this watershed, development in the business. One way is looking at the regulatory developments. It's a very ambiguous area. You will be partnering very closely with your parent entity, where irrespective of the industry that your parent entity is in, AI will be used to transform business. But the regulatory aspects are still very ambiguous, and you need to keep a close watch on how the regulators are thinking and what are the guardrails you need to put into place so that the business doesn't run into trouble while using AI. On the other hand, as a lawyer, how AI can be used as a tool or as an intern to bring in more efficiencies in what you do. The best service that you can do for your business is to bring down the costs. And if you can distinguish between complex work and iterative work and get the iterative work done through AI, which requires minimum human intervention, I believe you can do a service to your business. So I do not really feel that AI is something which is going to take away a lawyer's job, but I definitely feel that a lawyer who knows how to take work done out of AI will stay ahead in the game. A GCC lawyer, more than being a lawyer, needs to be a global citizen, is what I truly believe. You are not only watching out for the legal exposures of the GCC unit within the offshore country, but you're also keeping an eye on how these interactions play out from the perspective of the parent country. So this whole interaction of the regulatory exposure from the parent country and how it plays out in the local country is very, very important. For example, I can take the example of FCPA. right? Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It's a law, it's a US law which is applicable even to Indian companies and Indian citizens. And it's very important that a GCC lawyer is very aware if you're working for an American company's GCC and have a robust framework, a compliance framework, which keeps your company and your GCC unit safe from FCPA exposure. So that's one example. The other example is how data privacy or data security regulations are evolving. The DPDP Act is rolled out in India, and it is in all companies are putting frameworks and structures to stay compliant. It is essential to see how data flows between the different business units, between the two locations that you're working in, between the vendor location, your GCC unit, and your parent entity, and how a technological framework can be put in place which is compliant with law, not only in India, but also compliant from the perspective of your parent country and company, as well as any other domain that the data flow is touching.